Welcome to Two Drs Homestead. My name is Janet, and I am out in my chicken coop today, and I wanted to talk to some of you chicken owners or people who want to get into chicken keeping and talk about what happens and why a chicken stops laying eggs when it gets towards the fall and the winter months, and to give you some things that you can implement to ensure that your chickens will lay during the winter months. So first, let's talk about why chickens will stop laying. And what happens is the days start getting shorter and it starts to cool off, and that triggers for a chicken to say, I need to put on some new feathers because I need to get through a long cold winter. So at that point, a chicken is going to go through molt, and molting means that they shed their feathers and they get rid of those feathers that they've been holding on to all year that aren't as nice and fluffy, and they're going to regrow a new set of feathers, and that's just like putting on a new winter coat for them. So that is the reason why a chicken is going to slow down in production. And the reason is because chicken feathers are made of protein. So they're going to use all that protein that they're consuming from their feed to actually grow feathers and to not produce an egg for you, because eggs, as we know, are also protein. So at that point, what you would want to do is try to help them get through molt as quickly as possible. And to do that, you're going to want to increase the protein level in their feed. Now, most layer feeds, most layer pellets are anywhere between 15-16%. You could get your own that's made through a granary that's current in your area. What I do is I feed 15 to 16%, and during times of transitions where they need to get through weather changes, like for instance when we're going from fall into winter, or we're going from spring into summer, I know that can be stressful for my chickens. So what I do is I try to increase the protein in their feed at that time. If I do see any feather pecking in my flock, that feather pecking usually means that they're trying to get protein from somewhere, so they're pecking feathers off another chicken. So I will increase the protein in my feed as well. And what I do is I go to a protein that's local to my area. It's an egg maximizer, and it's 21% protein. So if you go outside and you start seeing your chickens dropping feathers or they're just not laying, you're most likely going to want to increase your protein, because that's going to give your ladies a little bit more protein in their body and to help them get through whatever stress they're experiencing at the time, because it can be very stressful for a chicken to have to go through molt and regrow feathers. Chickens can also be stressed and stop laying if there's a predator attack, or if there's predators around, or if there's just storms or a massive change in weather can cause them to stop laying. But usually it's going to be because they're molting and they're putting on new feathers. Now, if you want to get eggs all year round, you need to know that when a chicken is born, and I'm going to put this in really simple terms, when a chicken is born, they have all the yolks that you see in an egg. They are born with all the yolks in their reproductive system. Every egg that they are going to lay in their lifetime, that yolk is already in their reproductive system. So if you want to implement some strategies to get a chicken to lay throughout the winter months, what you need to know is that they're going to be laying during the winter months and they're not going to be taking time off, but you're dipping into the number of eggs that they're going to actually have laid in their lifetime. So let's say you have a silver lace Wyandotte, and typically my silver lace Wyandottes, these ladies, they take a little time off during molting season. Even when they get their feathers back on them, they will still not lay for about a month. So they usually take about 1 to 2 months a year off, and that's going to give them time for the reproductive system to, rebalance itself and for them to regenerate. And everybody needs a vacation, and so do my girls. So they take some time off. And when they're doing that, when they're taking their time off, they're not using those yolks. Those yolks are still in their reproductive system. So when they start up again, they're going to lay eggs, and they pull from from the yolks that are in them to generate an egg. Now, if you implement the strategy that some people try to do, which is increase protein during the winter, like an egg maximizer, go to like 18 to 21% layer feed, and people will leave a light on the entire time, and they'll try to get lights that simulate more like a daylight light bulb, and that will give your chickens the idea that the days are longer because you're actually providing them with more light. Now, that does not work 100% of the time. That's just some things that people implement to make sure that they could try to get more eggs laid. The harsh reality of livestock is you can't have everything you want. You can't have a beautiful lavender Orpington hen. You can't have a silver lace Wyandotte or a gold lace Wyandotte or a frizzle or all these Easter eggers, all these breeds that people want because they're pretty and they lay pretty eggs, and have a hen that is going to lay eggs for you consistently always throughout the year, regardless if she's losing feathers and molt or not. So if you want to have a pretty flock of chickens that you think are pretty and you like to have the color of their eggs, you need to know that your chicken's going to need time off. Hens need time to rest. Their reproductive system needs time to rest. If you want to force them to lay eggs, know that it is putting a stressor on your hens during the winter months to put a light on and to have them continue to produce, and that is going to shorten the lifespan of laying eggs. It's not going to shorten the lifespan of the chicken because she's going to lay all her eggs and then she's going to be done, and then she's going to be on retirement and she's just going to be eating your feed but not producing anything for you. And when you think about it, she did produce for you at times that normally she would not have produced because you forced her to produce. Now, you could do a couple things. You could build your flock appropriately so then you will always have chicken eggs. Meaning, you can get your pretty lavender Orpingtons and your Easter eggers, and you can do that. But you should have your total number of chickens and know that maybe those really pretty girls are going to give you, there's 4 of them, and so you're going to get 4 pretty eggs pretty much during the year when it's not the winter time. And then you will want to look for a winter breed that does well in the winter, and that's when they thrive, such as Brahmas. There's light Brahmas, buff Brahmas, and dark Brahmas. I have a lot of Brahmas in my flock. One, because they are gentle giants. They are very hardy in the winter, and they're just the sweetest birds that I have ever been able to have. So if you want a winter layer, Brahma is a great chicken because they thrive in the winter and that's when they start laying. So build your flock with all your pretty chickens that you want to look at. Also, give yourself 2 or 3 winter breeds like Brahmas in the winter, and that's when those girls are going to start laying for you. So when your other girls take time off, your winter layers are going to kick in, and they're going to give you some eggs too. But no, obviously, your winter layers, those girls aren't giving you anything during the summer because summer is not their jam. It's too hot, that's too stressful for them, and they're not going to give you an egg. So know if you have 8 total, and half of them are winter layers and half of them are summer layers, that you're looking at 4 egg-laying chickens at a time. 1 for the time when the winter girls aren't going, and then the rest is for when the winter girls are. So you could do it that way. You could build your flock to be appropriate that way. Or if you really just want chicken eggs and you want to be inundated with eggs all the time, that's when, again, the hard reality of livestock is you cannot have your cake and eat it too. So what you're going to want to do is you're going to want to look for production breeds of chickens. And those production breeds are going to be your production reds, and production reds are a combination of two Rhode Island Red and usually a Rhode Island White that they breed together and get a production red. They're going to go all the time regarding if it's winter or not, and they're going to just give you eggs constantly, and they usually give about 325 to 340, 350 eggs a year, because I mean these are heavy production breeds. These are the breeds that the commercial hatcheries are going to be using to produce eggs for you at the grocery store. You can also look into getting black sex links or black stars or midnight stars. They come by different names. Those are production blacks, and those are going to just be cranking out eggs for you regardless if it's winter or not. And then there's also your brown sex link, and your brown sex link is going to have many names from the hatchery. Sometimes it's called Isa Brown. Sometimes they're cinnamon queens. I've seen them called brown stars before. Basically what it is, it's a combination of different brown chickens they carry the brown genetics, and they combine them for the most production that you can have. And I do have another video, I'll link that at the end, and it talks about if you want to breed your own production reds, brown sex links or black sex links. It teaches you how to do that. If you have those chickens in your flock, it shows you how to combine those genetics per chicken to get your own at home if you're a hatchery, if you want to start hatching your own. And I do myself too. I hatch my own brown and black sex links. I don't hatch production reds. I have some production reds and I have some Rhode Island reds. And they are great egg layers, and they are very nice to me, but to be honest, I have probably, I don't know, I don't count anymore, it's way more than 100 chickens, and production reds and Rhode Island reds, they're just not my favorite chicken. They're nice to me, but the attitude that they bring to my flock, to my other ladies, I don't care for. They're just a little bit too aggressive and too sassy for my liking for the ladies that I have. So that's the ways that you can get your chickens to lay during the winter months, is by putting a daylight light bulb on, for many hours, at least 16 hours during the day, and that's going to hopefully bump up your production on breeds that don't normally lay eggs in the winter. Increase their production by giving them higher protein feed, and regardless if you want to increase their production or not, I would suggest increasing their feed when they're rebuilding their feathers when they're going through molt. That is just good husbandry for your flock. You want to take the best care of your flock that you can, and that means giving them the best chance that they have for survival. So if you see your chickens losing feathers and it's during molt season, increase their protein so then they can grow their feathers better, because you don't know when you're going to get a cold snap, and you don't need your ladies or your boys to be cold, because I have multiple roosters, even though my boys are being pretty quiet now, but I have multiple roosters and they do molt as well, and those boys need the extra protein to be able to grow their feathers too. Or you can build your flock in a 50-50 pattern, half of them as winter layers, half of them as the rest of the year layers, and that's going to get you in the eggs, even though it's half the amount of eggs, in the eggs all year round. Or just be totally honest with yourself and say, I wish I had a pretty chicken, but I really want eggs more, and build yourself a flock of production reds, black sex links, and brown sex links, and that's going to guarantee you eggs all the time. Now, the one caveat of the sex links and the production reds are, again, those girls are all born with all of the yolks that they're going to have for their lifetime. These girls, those production breeds, are going to burn hard and fast. They are going to give you a ton of eggs, usually at least one a day, guarantee one every other day, but they are not going to produce for more than about a year. They're going to come into production earlier, so like my Brahmas, my winter layers, they don't really start laying until 6 to 10 months. That's just their breed and how they are. Normal girls like the Wyandottes, the Easters, people, the hens like that, those girls usually go around 5 months, maybe 4, but 5 or 6 months they'll start laying. Your production breeds are probably going to start dropping around 3 or 4 months, sometimes 3 months. So they start laying fast, they lay a lot really quickly, and then they're going to burn out. And to be honest, you have to be honest with yourself. You have to say, am I going to run a retirement home for my chickens? Because if you live in the city and you only get 6 chickens, think to yourself, if I really want eggs, you have to be ready for when these girls stop laying, what are you going to do with them? Do you plan on getting a separate coop and letting them live out their life, just on retirement? Do you want to give them away to a rescue, or do you want to process them into food? Because that's what they do commercially, is when they stop laying commercially, the productions, they just put them back into the food chain for other things. So just be ready for that. If you live outside city limits like me, chicken math happens, and you start with 15 chickens and you end up with 100 or so many years later. So those are the ways that you can get chicken eggs all the time. If you have any questions about chickens, honestly, I love talking chicken. So if you have questions about it, just leave a comment, question down in the comments, and I will get back to you. Or you can send an email to us at our email on our About page. So that's it. That's my chicken talk for the day. I hope that was helpful, and thank you for watching.